children in the street, dying every day. We all look for something we can never find, and we all need peace of mind. Lonely wretch on the street, looking for love. $20 beneath the sheets. Is this all she thinks of? We all look for something.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hey there, Sean, you on? Well, I'm not sure if you can hear me, Sean, but I can't hear you on your end. Looks like we have a problem here. I don't know what happened, Sean, and I everything was working off air, but now once we went live,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, I had to restart the whole program. That's why we were about 15 minutes late. There was a problem with the program. I'm so sick and tired of having a podcast that has problems. But hey, look at like my brother Johnny with his low dough concert. We're a low dough,
Yeah.
a low dough podcast. But as long as you can hear me, hey everybody, welcome to Truth Lies and Political Bullshit. And I'm Sean Morris. That's my good friend Timmy. And for the people that just joining us, which is a lot of people, welcome to our show. Sorry about the technical problems. It's Timmy's fault. Timmy's the computer guru, and every time he breaks the freaking thing.
Yeah, I know. But all the controls are on his end, everybody.
Hey, listen, so finally, a couple of days have gone by. Donald Trump is kind of settling in, and I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if everybody's kind of just chilling out a little bit, calming down a little bit, and, you know, what's going on out there. So I'm happy to realize that most people seem to be somewhat calming down, except for this lady who was on TV today.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on to me. It seems like there's a whole half of the world that think like the Antichrist.
Right, and now the women out there shaving their head. They're saying they're going to.
Well, we're going to get to that. Don't jump ahead of the show.
Abstinence. You know?
Wow. Okay. She's not happy.
Why?
Yeah, she's not happy. Yeah, so Timmy, you hear about this, you know, this nonsense going around with these left-wing crazy liberals. You would think that they would realize, and this is just my 2 cents, and anybody who's watching this, I think they can at least agree with me. I always said Donald Trump was going to win for 2 reasons. One is because of the weaponizing, you know, the law system weaponizing the system to go after Trump, New York City, DOJ, all the, Georgia. When all of these politicians used our legal system and weaponized the legal system, most common sense people could see what the hell was going on, right? We talked about it, Timmy, on numerous podcasts. People ain't freaking stupid. They know what's going on. They can see this guy being prosecuted for the stupidest shit, stuff that's never been done before, taking, misdemeanors that are past their date where they can be prosecuted, the statute of limitations, and turning them into something that's never been done before. And it didn't matter if it got thrown out, because by the time you chastise this guy and you ruin his name, you thought you had him by the cahoots and you were going to beat him. And the more they tried to kill him, it seemed to me, the stronger the guy got, right?
Yeah, I mean, even shot him.
Yeah, they shot him. They tried to get him on his golf course. I mean, this guy's been through hell. And then on top of that, I really do believe wholeheartedly, man, that the left-wing whack job media, the major news stations all across this country for 3 years now have just used every ounce of their power to try to beat the guy down. And
Sean, they even lied about all the polls, saying how tight things are, which was all false.
Yeah, the whole entire campaign against Donald Trump. And I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk to you from a Democrat standpoint. Every single thing they did to him helped him win. The Democrats have gone so far from the middle, so far to the left, that guys like me look at him and go, what the hell is going on? I can't justify some guy competing against my grandkids in sports when they're girls and he's a man. I can't swallow the apple and say there's a guy in the girls' locker room when my girls are changing. That shit's not flying with me. But yet the far left Democrats kept pushing that agenda and tried to make it normal, tried to make us feel like we were the bad people because we disagreed with it. And it wasn't just that. It was so much of the shit that they, the crossing the border, the amount of illegal immigrants, the amount of money that were throwing at them in the face of the people that live here that were poor and struggling. They helped Donald Trump win. And now they don't have the brains to realize that they need to give up. They need to realize what they did, give up, and figure out how to come back 4 years from now. Yeah. But they can't do it. And listen to this, Timmy, because this really just pisses me off. These people are now saying that we shouldn't have dinner on Thanksgiving with our families.
Right.
If I voted for Donald Trump, my family, if there's Democrats, should invite me. Listen to these morons.
Yeah.
You recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
So I love that you asked this question because, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood.
So now the position of these nuts, and that's all I can say. They're freaking nuts. The nutty people here are now telling you, stay away from your family. Your family's not that valuable. They voted against the same way that you wanted them to vote. You wanted them to vote Democratic, and they voted for Trump. And they knew how it would hurt your feelings and how inside you'd be crushed and how you'd feel hurt and sad and you wouldn't be able to carry on. Give me a break. Give me a freaking break. Am I a moron or are these people out of their mind?
I think both.
Well, okay. Well, I'll go with that. I think I am a moron because I'm doing a podcast with you.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about the transgender thing, and while you're doing that, I'm thinking, they're wrong in that point too. It was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Well, unless you work in Cohoes.
Right.
But listen, the point is that the everyday people just want to live their freaking lives. And they don't want to live it in a swelling pool of controversy. They don't want to start living backwards and trying to figure out what a girl is and a boy is in 2024. I'm 57 years old, Timmy. I know you're a lot older than I am, but
I'm 70. You keep bringing it up every podcast.
Who the hell wants to live their lives right now backwards?
Right.
Right.
It's insane. You know, just what you're saying is absolutely true. Now you can't even get together for Thanksgiving and Christmas based on how you voted. It's crazy.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I don't care how you voted.
Yeah.
I don't care if we argue over who you vote for. I don't care if I'm a Joe Biden supporter and you're a Trump supporter. At the end of the day, if you're my family, I love you. And ain't nothing going to stop me from sitting down and telling you that I love you and how much I need you and how much I care about you. And I talked about this before, how important it is to tell the people that you love how much you love them, because you wake up one day and they're gone. And then what are you going to say? Oh, I should have had Thanksgiving, but I didn't want it because Donald Trump won the election.
Yeah.
And this lady's a doctor.
Right.
Okay. And this this girl from MSNBC, Reed, she is the most corrupt, racist, hateful woman in the world. Somehow, some way, they're paying this woman millions of dollars to just be a national racist.
Yeah.
To go on TV and tell everybody why, white women ought to be ashamed of themselves because they voted for Trump. And if you're from this part of the world or that part of the world or this part of the world and you voted for Trump, you destroyed your heritage and you hurt your grandmother and you hurt your brother. She's a moron.
Yeah.
And they're paying people millions of dollars. And you know who's watching? A bunch of white women that she's insulting. And when you look at their ratings, Timmy, you and I have more views than they do, and they're getting paid millions. So we're getting screwed some way.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing. As I look at it, okay, these people are out of touch. They're in a bubble. They don't go to the grocery stores. They may say they do, but they don't go buy their own gas. They ride subways. Okay, they have no idea what it's like, the day-to-day stuff. Look at Al Sharpton. He got paid $500,000 just to come out. $500,000.
So I had a girl kind of give me a little bit of shit on Facebook because I posted. I said, "Hey, isn't it interesting that all these superstars worth millions of dollars who supposedly came out to support Harris because she was the next great thing since Christ, all collected money to do it?" And she's
Beyonce.
like, "Oh, where did you get that information?" I said, "Well, Oprah lied on TV. Oprah said, I didn't get no money." And then she comes back a couple of days later and says, "Well, the production company got the money."
Harpo Production.
She owns the company.
Right. She owns
right.
Beyonce got $10 million and they put it out as a performance, and all she did was a 3-minute speech.
Yeah.
Hollywood went and scooped up all their money on them.
And then they gave next to this Reed woman, they gave the second most, if not the most, racist human being in Al Sharpton. Right? It looks like they stuck his head in a dryer and shrunk his freaking head because he's got no brain.
He does look like one of those things you'd see on Beetlejuice, right?
He looks like Beetlejuice, for Christ's sake. Yeah. And he got $500,000. He got $500,000 to come on and chastise all the white people for voting for Kamala Harris. If she would have get out $500,000, I would have came on and said, "All you people vote for Kamala Harris are a bunch of racists. Give me the money." Because it's just, why give it to Al Sharpton?
Well, that's why they lost this election, Sean. First of all, nobody gives a shit what Hollywood elites care about and whether they endorse anybody. Nobody gives a shit. Okay, it's crazy. They thought they were going to go watch a Beyonce concert or some kind of show, and what happened? She just does a 3 minute speech, say thanks, adios, and rakes in $10 million. They all took her.
I can't.
Sean,
no
they went through
aside.
$1 billion in
$1 billion, and they owe 20 million. And the people that are getting screwed are the small little businesses that brought the cakes and the cookies and made the sandwiches and delivered the water and the peasants,
all that stuff.
All the peasants got screwed while all the millionaires. Oprah Winfrey's got $1 billion. She needed $1 million. I guess, you know what? I guess to lie that bad about how much you really believe Kamala Harris could have been the president, you had to pay her $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no way in the world these people sitting back, well, they're out of touch with reality anyway.
Right.
The only rock star that I know that ain't out of touch with reality is Johnny Morris. And he's playing at, the Coast Music Hall for his birthday bash, the Low Doe birthday bash or whatever the hell he calls it. But he's the only superstar that I know that said, I'm with Trump. The rest of these morons are all out there saying, I'm with Kamala. And then you find out they're making money.
Right. They're all getting paid off. $1 billion, and they lost.
I mean, it's.
So look at Sean. Look at some of these picks, okay, that are being chosen by Trump for his cabinet. One of the big ones was Fox News TV host Hegseth. Now this guy,
Pete Hegseth, he's a
right. This guy is Harvard. He has a degree at Harvard. He has a degree at Princeton. He was a Major, National Guard, 20 years of service, 2 bronze medalists. Okay, and the pundits are coming out and saying, "Oh, he's just not qualified. He has no experience." But Kamala Harris can be commander-in-chief.
And she's going to be the
commander-in-chief.
That's the hypocrites that we live in. Right. Oh, my God, he's not qualified. Wait a minute. You were going to take a lady who got her first political job on her knees, and you're going to say that she's now qualified, and she's going to be the head of the country and the head of our military. Right. And here's a guy from Yale, Princeton?
Princeton and Harvard.
I listened to the guy for years. The guy is brilliant. The guy has a passion to love veterans. Mm-hmm. And you know what? None of us had experience in anything until we did it and got experience in it, right?
Right. Exactly.
So the bottom line is, So the bottom line is they're pissed off about the picks because they're not insiders. They're outsiders.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Okay.
They're outsiders.
And look at he learned from some mistakes he made the first time around, but this time now he knows where that swamp is. Okay, Department of Justice. Okay, that's why he put in Matt Gaetz to go in there and clean that out. Tulsi Gabbard to go in there as the national security. I think it is now.
I think he's picked some good candidates.
Yeah,
and I think the world is screwed up. And I think no matter who he picks, there's going to be a learning curve because nobody's ever had to deal with a border that allowed 12 million people crossing it, full of murderers, rapists, nuts, maniacs, crazy people from all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's had to deal with that. We got wars going on in every part of the country. It's going to be hard to deal with that. But you're already seeing the effects of Donald Trump. I'll call it the Donald Trump effects, where you see China saying, hey, we want to talk about trade. And you're seeing Russia say, hey, we're willing to sit down and talk about the war that's going on in Ukraine. You're starting to see all these things because you know what? I'm going to tell you something. The last guy you want to fight with is a guy that's crazy and you don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump has that craziness, right?
Yeah.
I can remember drinking in bars when I was a kid and they'd be like, man, that guy's nuts. And you'd be like, I don't even want to mess with him because you don't know what he's going to do. Well, that ain't no different whether you're drinking at a bar or if it's the president of the United States. If they think he's nuts and at any time he's not afraid to go, screw you, you don't know how to handle him.
Yeah, and Sean Van Fleet said he's picking who's loyal to him, okay? And this is what went wrong the last time. He had these rhinos or people that were disloyal to him, people he couldn't trust,
Who's he supposed to pick? People that he don't like?
Yeah,
I mean, do you find it just so ridiculous to listen to the left-wing media who hasn't learned its lesson, who's still out there trying to cause all these problems? And the politicians who are going on, these left-wing shows talking about crazy shit, they don't get it. They lost. And they lost big. And they lost big, dude, because they're out of touch with reality.
Look at Austin, okay? Now, Austin is the Secretary of Defense. All this woke DEI shit is happening under his watch, okay? Under his watch, okay? And they're concerned about someone's experience and qualifications. What about this guy?
Our military in every branch is down tenfold, right?
Yeah. People aren't signing up.
And they're running commercials.
Yeah.
Shit show supervisor, Jimmy. My hat says shit show supervisor.
Yeah.
Got it from a great friend of mine who loves the show.
Yeah, I got one too, but I haven't worn it.
Well, that's because your head's too big. You got to get him one that's a little bigger with a bigger band. But
yeah, I got that same hat from that same guy that gave it to you.
I know, but he said I got extra large for Timmy, but I don't think it's going to fit his noggin.
It doesn't, believe it or not. I got a small head.
Yeah, they got to get you the jumbo size, jumbotron. So I don't even know what the hell I was just saying, except for I don't believe for 1 second, even the people who supported Joe Biden because they hated Trump as a person, right? Unfortunately, sometimes we let our emotions get in the way and we say, I don't like that person, so I'm not going to vote for him. Even those people, and I've talked to some of them, agree that the policies that Kamala Harris had were going to be horrendous. But a lot of people don't believe that it affects their lives, right? Because for the longest part, I didn't believe it either, right? For the longest part of my life, I used to say, for me, local politics affects my life, my taxes, my fees, my property, my city, local government matters the most, potholes, cleaning up. And it really hasn't struck me until this actual election at 57 years old that the federal government, when it does go bad, and it's really going bad, it's going haywire, it's affected me deeply. And I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income like you, Timmy, right? We're both retired.
Yeah.
So nobody's throwing me a 16% raise like the unions are getting right now. Great time to be a union member, handing out huge raises.
I don't have a way to increase my income. I
get what
I get, and every time something goes on up, okay, I got to do with less. But, we manage. But you know what?
That's the point I'm trying to say. The point is that for most people, for the first time ever, I think they're seeing the federal government have a huge impact on their lives. And if think about it, go back your whole life. Maybe you're old, you're older than I am. So maybe it's happened to you. And if anybody's watching the show, but if you're like my age, 56, 57, 58, has there ever been a time when the federal government and the economy and all the problems that are associated with our federal government that's causing us to have these heartaches right now? Has there ever been another time in your life when this has really happened? Because I don't remember one.
So I'll tell you what they do, actually, Sean, So I get Social Security. So when we get this little COLA adjustment, okay, for every year, you get a little COLA increase. What they do is they raise your Medicare premium and take it right away. Okay.
Yeah. So they give you one They give you one to cover the other.
Yeah, and then they take it right away. So you're right back to square one. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he went in there and he got rid of 83% of the fat, and Twitter's doing just fine. And that's why he says they're going to go in there and clean out the federal government with all the pork in there, $100,000 to watch a squirrel run or something like that.
Well, here's the reality that they're going to face, right? Donald Trump's going to be able to do a lot of things on his own, but a lot of things are going to need congressional approval, right?
Yeah.
You got a very slim margin in the House, and they just elected, Thorne?
Thorne, yeah.
Was elected
he's in the Senate, yeah.
Right, he was just elected as
Senate majority leader.
he was elected to take McConnell's place.
Yeah,
He's
Senate
not a big
Majority Leader.
right. He's not a big Trump fan.
No, he's
I
not.
think somebody just said that. I think Trump did not pick the crap majority leader throwing secret. Yeah, there you go,
Yeah, it
Mike.
was
You're right.
yeah, and they don't even vote openly. It's a secret ballot.
However,
Chicken
it's
shits.
done.
Yeah,
However,
it's
it's
secret ballot chicken
yeah.
shits.
However it's done. I don't think it was the best pick to help Trump. Okay.
Hmm.
And you're already going to see it because some of the cabinet picks that he made are going to have a tough time even getting through his Republican Party.
Well, that's why he wanted the recess picks, because when they go out of session, bingo, he appoints them.
Yeah,
And that's
if
it.
he can get the recess pick, but
Yeah.
I don't know. This all remains to be seen, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully he will, because I really believe that the president of the United States, just like the mayor of a city and anybody else, if they're going to be the leader, they should have a lot of latitude. And if you're going to not take one of it, if your job is to, sit down and listen to his picks, and then you're going to make the decision because you have the oversight. There should be something really, really piss poor, really bad, to not support his candidates, right? Like
Yeah.
Jackson, when she became the Supreme Court justice, when they asked her what a woman was and she couldn't answer,
Right.
I'd have beeped her ass right out.
Yeah.
No
and yet
place
she's
for a
still in
judge.
court. Right.
Yeah, no place for a Supreme Court judge who can't say, whether it's a man or a woman, and she doesn't know the definition.
Right. And
Something like that, they should.
And she gets still put on the court.
And she gets put on. So, I think it's the Matt Gaetz. What did they pick him for? Attorney General?
Yeah, Attorney General.
All right. And so Matt Gaetz has got some scandals behind him where they said he was taking young girls across state lines and whining and dining them and screwing them and whatever. And so he's under investigation, right? But that's all it is. It's an investigation. Okay. Nobody said he did it other than, whoever's, called up and made that, secret phone
Accusation,
call.
yeah.
Right. So I can see them taking a little time to make sure that they don't have to eat crow. But allegation is nothing more than an allegation. But he will be one that I think they're going to have a little more difficult.
I think they're going to have a battle with him, but I still think
you heard
he'll
it
get
first
in.
on this show. You heard it first on the show. Sean Moore's going to tell you. I don't think he wants Matt Gaetz. I think he was obligated to help the guy because the guy was a staunch Democrat or a staunch Republican who stood up for Trump at every single argument that they ever had against him. And I think he says, you know what? I'm going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to throw your name in there. But if you can't get through, you can't get through, and that's not my fault, right?
And I think it'll end up being Mike Lee.
Well, I think it's going to
In the
be
Senate.
somebody other than Matt Gaetz. And I think
it'll
Matt
be Mike
Gaetz.
Lee in the Senate.
Yeah. I think Matt Gaetz was given the opportunity based on his loyalty to Trump. I think if somebody was that loyal to me, I would say the same. I'll give you the opportunity. But if they don't, confirm you, I can't do nothing about that. Mm-hmm. So I think, Trump probably had that conversation with him. He took it. He's running with it, and he's going to see if he can get through. And if he can't, well, Trump upheld his end of the bargain, right?
Well, Jackson get through not knowing what a woman is.
Well,
right. He's got a shot.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right, Timmy. Timmy, I want to just jump over here real quick. I just want to say, hey, if you like the show, sorry we're 15 minutes late, and sometimes we have some hiccups, but please take your time, subscribe. Jump over and subscribe. We are a fast-growing, one of the fastest growing. I don't know why. We're two goofballs just trying to chat about shit that seems to have some importance, but laugh at the same time. But jump onto our YouTube, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow us. You can follow us on Facebook. Love to have you, and appreciate everybody who chimes in.
Hey, Sean, just a quick change on something, okay? Just want to let the listeners know that Peanut, the squirrel, and Fred, the raccoon, were tested after they were murdered by New York State, okay? Turns out neither one were rabid, They didn't have rabies.
Yeah, it was sad. But it was even worse when we found out that the 10 people that broke into the house, they all had rabies.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that had any mind that would break into your house with a subpoena and hold you hostage for 5 hours for a raccoon and a.
Right. All right. Where's that gray squirrel? We know it's in here.
Get in the bathroom. Don't move.
Yeah.
It's
Everybody in the bathroom. They're there for 5 hours. What do you do in somebody's house for 5 hours?
I don't know. All I know is that you keep freezing up, and I'm tired of saying that it's my internet.
It's not mine.
Yeah, it's that stupid thing that you have behind you, and every time you move, your head turns green. You want to talk about UFOs? Because I'm really starting to think that you may be one of the people that came out of those UFOs, because your head keeps turning green. Anybody
Really?
else watching Timmy? His head's turning green?
Is my head turning green, everybody?
Because I know he ain't got that much hair on his head, and it's not green.
It's probably the green screen behind me.
So we got we have a whole world that's upside down and in crises, and Congress had a big meeting today to talk about whether or not there are UFOs. Well, yeah, halo, right, Sean, around his head. Believe me, it's not the halo that we're hoping we have someday. It's a different halo.
Yeah, well, because I'm ordained. Okay, I keep this podcast going. So the UFOs. I was telling you in the green room here off air. I've been on board aircraft carriers at night, and I've seen shit flying around. Okay, lights that are making 90-degree turns and stuff like that, and we can't do that shit.
Well, you can do it. You could do it with your drone. Maybe drones were out before you came to the market.
Not at these speeds.
How do you know?
Because I'm on board the deck. I'm looking up in the sky at night.
Big deal. Listen, if you're making an argument that there's UFOs, well, yeah, I agree there's UFOs. What does UFO mean?
Well, actually, we don't.
What does UFO mean before you go to another topic, Timmy?
It says, what is it? What is a UFO? Unidentified flying object.
Okay,
we don't use that.
There you go. So there's a whole bunch of shit that's flying around that you can't identify. Doesn't mean that it's other than you.
Me?
Other than you, there's no little green people walking around coming out of spaceships. Now you look like one of them. If your head keeps turning. I didn't say
that. All I tell you is I've been on 2 aircraft carriers, work flight decks, and there's shit flying around at night.
We've all seen things.
Don't know what it is.
Just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean it's Area 51. Sean, that's bullshit as well. All it is military stuff that goes up.
Whatever it is out there, it's too fast, and they make turns. They make turns that are abrupt. They go like this, down, this, okay? And I've seen it. And I've seen it when I was in service.
Does that mean there's Martians?
I don't know what they are.
No, you don't know what is.
Whatever is moving around out there, and when you're out in the deep, I don't know what it is. But it's not like you see it once.
Yeah, that's what it is,
see it
Johnny.
all the time.
He's got to be a hot shot and come on with his fancy screens, and all it does is turn his head green and freezes his screen every 5 minutes. How'd you like to do this every Wednesday night with Timmy? Okay. Yeah. He's green. He freezes the screens.
On my side, it doesn't
can't
look
hear the
green.
microphone.
It looks perfect. I mean, it look. Johnny, you should look at. You should see it from my end here. Okay, I look like Elvis Presley. Okay.
Yeah, you look
my
like
screen's not freezing. My background's good, so I don't know what you're talking.
Johnny, if you're watching this, his head's green and he's freezing. If you see that, tell me you see it, because he doesn't believe me when I tell him he's a moron. And
I'm going to have to take a screenshot of my screen.
Right now, your head is green, the top of your head.
Really?
Yeah, of course. Every time you move. Because the green screen and the black clash, so it makes a halo.
You know what's going on?
Yeah, I just told you. It's a UFO.
It's your program.
And it's going all different ways.
It's your program I'm using.
No.
Yes.
Listen, you just said you see things going like this and you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
We who are watching the show sees it right there, right over your head.
Okay.
It could be a UFO.
Yeah, maybe it's that word light behind me that's green. It's throwing everything off. That's probably
Hey, let's jump over to some Cahoe stuff. So here we are in the middle of winter, and we're about 700,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, over budget for our solar panels that are gonna
Yeah.
go on top of our drinking water and save the city all of this money, right?
Yeah. So the
And
latest news on that, Sean, is we're getting digged for another $21,000. Okay,
dinged or
because they
dig?
can't find the leak and they got to pay CT Mail to come in to try to find where the leak is that they say was caused once they started working on the reservoir. So we started off with $600,000 more than they expected. Then another 50,000 on top of that for problems that they were having around the interior of it, and now another 21,000. Okay, so what's that work on out to be? What
A
six
lot.
hundred $70,000? How
It's a
much do
lot.
you pay $670,000 a year for electricity in City
Well,
Hall?
if Trump doesn't do something, I will be soon. If my
Yeah,
daughter doesn't
because
shut off the lights and turn off the heat.
yeah, because
Well,
that's
it looks
really
like
what it boils down to.
I'll
I
tell
would
you
say
what.
there's 2 years of power in the city lost just for the overages here.
I'm gonna Limbo Jim just said something, and I want to address it. So,
Yeah,
it's easy to take. So the city passed another budget with zeros,
yeah,
and then I suppose they did raise the water and sewer rates, which again I think is a discriminatory tax, because if you were just paying for the usage, excuse me, of your water and your sewer, I can understand them raising sewer and water tax. Unfortunately, they add a bunch of employees in there that don't just work on water and sewer, and everybody relies on those employees. They take out loans for buildings. There's a whole bunch of things that come out of the water and sewer bill, um, that should make it a part of our property tax. But instead, what they do is they just slam people with the water and sewer bill, and then they tell you they don't have to raise taxes. And they're not raising them on everybody. But Sean Morris has got 5 people, 6 people at his house all the time, taking my daughter and the 3 kids and me taking showers and whatever. My water bill last every quarter is about $450.
wow,
So imagine paying, almost $2,000 a year for water. So now they're going to raise the water bill, and I'm going to get whacked. Yet you're not going to get whacked, and you're using the same employees that I'm using. So it's not fair. It's not done correctly. And I was going to try to fix that, but it was another thing that was going to take a little time because you can't just move everything over. But the reason they're able to have a zero is A, because they bullshit you. 2, because the federal government gave them a ton of money for
COVID and stuff like
COVID.
that. Plus
And
$10 million grant from
yeah,
local.
so they were able to get a lot of political money. But in the end, I said it here and I said it loud and clear. The next guy that takes over for this city, because it always takes 5 or 6 years after one asshole leaves and leaves you bankrupt before it really starts to hit home.
Yeah,
But the next person's going to face the crisis. Now, the city can tell you that they've added more money to their to their rainy day fund, but I don't see it, and you can't see it until after next year. It's another smoke and mirrors thing. You can't see how much money's coming out of the budget for the reserves, because they only put the reserves out once a year when they do the audit. So how they're doing it, I'll let you know next year when I get to see the audit. But I assure you the rainy day fund is dwindling down, and they're using their savings account in a fund they created called the Tax Stabilization Fund. All that means is they're taking money out of their savings account, putting it in this account so you don't know it's actually money from the savings, and they're using it to pay down their bills, because there's no way that the city of Cohoes has as much revenue coming in as expenditures going out. Just the $1 million alone for the ambulance would have put us in a major
and that's
financial.
still going on.
Right. It is so mismanaged. Why do you think when you walk downtown, it's a shithole?
Yeah.
Why do you think when you walk downtown, there's garbage all over? There's weeds all over. The trees they don't even take care of the trees. For Christ's sake, how hard is it to take care of the trees? You just clean out the beds and make sure that there's cigarette butts and garbage and cans and dirt and diapers.
Right.
That's it. And they don't even do that. Matter of fact, the weeds are growing so high in the beds of the tree beds that they're wrapping around the trees. All the branches are being, we spent millions of dollars, turned Cohoes downtown into one of the nicest downtowns in the capital region. We were getting accolades all across the state of New York for what we did. And in 3 years, this guy has ruined almost every single thing that we did. From the Canal Square Park that looks like shit, to the tree beds that are all wrecked, to the trees that are all broken, to the garbage, to the weeds growing out of the sidewalks. You name it, whatever you could ruin, this asshole ruined. And I tell you this, people didn't like me and they want to vote me out. But if everybody who sees me every day in the street says, why don't you run again? Why don't you run again? Why don't you? We'd have beat the guy by 3,000. That's how bad. I hope somebody has the capability of running in 3 years, because this guy's done 3 things: screwed up the city, put a lot of money in his and his family's pocket, and paved his street. That's a secondary street, and paved that
a mile
before.
long. And then they tell Isa, we got no money. We don't. Your streets are not on the paving list.
Well, listen, look at. I don't know Izo. I knew his dad. I loved his father.
Yeah,
I loved his dad.
Yeah.
And I imagine he's a super nice kid.
Yeah.
The whole Izo family are class act. Okay. But being the class act and being a nice kid doesn't give you the balls that you need to be an advocate. You can either be a puppet or an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
A puppet sits on the council and does this. An advocate gets up there and does this. I demand that you take care of my neighborhood. The people I represent need this, and they need this, and they need this. I don't hear that stuff, Timmy.
It's not happening in the first ward.
It's
Look,
not
he got beat out of a municipal parking lot there. Okay, that's still blocked off. You got the sinkhole. Okay, what I like to call is Tony Sinkhole Severia. He's got his sinkhole still going on, and they're saying we're not fixing it because we can't get to it. Yeah, they're telling them they're not fixing it.
We had Sean Higgins on, city councilman, who I'm very fond of, and I think he's done a decent job. I really do. And he's got a learning curve, but he's done a good job. And I want him to come back on the show. So, Sean, I know you're a closet listener like the rest of everybody else.
Yeah.
But we're going to ask you to come back on, because he told me that they went to Steve Hennessy and asked him to please cut weeds. I mean, you listen, when you drive down a city that's trying to get people to invest $200,000-$400,000, and all you see is weeds growing through every crack and crevice, and it looks like shit. Okay? And you tell the city council member, oh, we ain't got time, we can't cut weeds. There's a problem. See, I would have said to him, Steve, if you can't figure out how to cut the weeds, you're fired.
Well, part of the problem, Sean, is that DPW workers are quitting right and left.
Everybody's quitting.
Everybody. They're leaving.
Everybody's leaving. Nobody wants to work here.
It's not worth it.
If I told you how many people stopped me, Al Paul's retired now.
Yeah.
Right? Because they pushed him right out.
Yeah.
And I think they gave him a nice chunk of money to walk away, because they were going to lose that battle again.
Yeah.
All they do is go after people who stand up for themselves.
Because it's a bully thing, okay?
It's a bully.
It's a bully thing. That's really what it is.
We don't have a safe city no more. I went down to Smith's the other day for dinner, had a hamburger, couple beers, delicious. Smith's is open. Across the street, there's a Daisy's was open. Outside of that, the city was dark.
Mm-hmm.
It was dark. And I think it was 9:00. So I think Donnie, his new place was closed, which I did go in and eat, and it was really good. Got to be honest, got to give him a plug. His food was delicious. But the city's dead. And there was a bunch of creepy people walking around. There was garbage everywhere. And I thought to myself, man, three years ago, the lights would have been on till 11, 12 o'clock at night. The music hall would have been rocking and rolling. Cops would have been walking up and down that street nonstop until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. The golf cart would have been going up and down all of the streets to make sure that there was no problems. and now it's dead. Not only was it dead with people, it was dead because people are afraid to go out. This guy was a state trooper. How does the state trooper not know how to run a police department? He has screwed up the police department. I have policemen who didn't even like me telling me how bad it is there.
Yeah. I hear it all
DPW
the
tells
time.
me all the time, Timmy, you know, I get hundreds of emails from employees going, oh my God, we thought you were bad, Sean, because you just wanted us to show up and take pride in the city. This guy is a moron. You can't even talk to him. People telling me that.
Right. And I'm going to tell you how bad things really are. Okay. Now, the CLDC, now, you know what they are, the Cohoes Local Development Corp. Now, this is Napier is he's the secretary of that, right? He's the disaster that gave us the holiday huts.
Shit shacks.
Right. The shit shacks, the disaster last year with the concerts, but blamed it on somebody else. Okay. They got a new website. They fixed it all on up, right? But there's no information there. All right. And then when you click on a calendar to find out what's going on certain dates, it's in Spanish.
Listen, I guarantee you they took it off. Anybody who's watching the show tonight, go to the city website, go to the economic development, and the millions of dollars of all the stuff that's on that page, it was mine.
Yeah,
They've done nothing.
CLDC. All you got to do is Google Cohoes Local Development Corporation. You'll see they got a nice, pretty little website now, but there's no information on there. Okay, they could tell you when the meeting is. Then they got a calendar, and if you go over and click on a certain date around the calendar, it brings up a dialogue box, and it's all in Spanish. I said, "What
Well,
the
you got
hell?"
to learn to talk Spanish, man. That's the new language of the United
I
States.
said, "What
isn't
the
it?
hell?" So I can't find out what they were doing in their meeting in their minutes back in October because I want to see what the next disaster Napier's going to come up for Christmas this year.
So I was told that so the first people that we went to when I was in office was the Bonaquisti brothers.
Yeah.
And we wanted to turn the Cohoes Hotel, historic Cohoes Hotel, into something that could start the footprint of our revitalization of the downtown. And they agreed. And before they took it over, believe me, it was the most disgusting, filthy, bug and drug infested place you've ever seen in your life. But he invested his money, millions of dollars. Okay. And he turned it into a beautiful place, and we started renting it out. We had music hall going and restaurants going and new apartments going. So I was told that he wanted to buy the fire site that's a little further down. And I heard it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000.
Yeah.
And the IDA, I think Pete Frangi's the head of the IDA.
Now.
I think he's the CEO, and maybe Ron Dion is the chairman of it, or vice versa.
Something like that, yeah.
But my understanding is they didn't want to do that because they thought if they held out longer, they may get a better option. So you got a guy who's already invested millions looking to invest more. You know who he is. You know what you're going to get with him. And I'm going to tell you something. The city is not going upward. It's going downward. So the chances of anybody wanting to invest $250,000 on a street that has more weeds than people is highly unlikely.
And plus, they got money for that, too, didn't they, from the state?
Well, they got the $10 million.
Right. So they got that on top of it. So what are they waiting for?
Well, again,
I heard they want to make Powertain a museum.
Well, I heard Ralph Pascal wanted to leave it there because
it's a museum piece. Come on.
Yeah, way. How about you bulldoze it down and put up a little picture, say once stood a gas station here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem with these wacky people.
Put a plaque there. Yeah.
Yeah, put a plaque and get rid of
the old Powertain.
Yeah, but I'd love to have Pete Frangi or somebody come on from the IDA and explain to me, try to help me understand the logic behind you got an offer in a city that is not in the upswing. Cohoes is on the downslide. You can ask anybody and everybody if Cohoes is on the downslide, and they're going to tell you yes. Business owners text me, investors text me, people asking me, hey, Sean, do you know about this? What about that? What about this? It is not going up. It was on this it was on this rocket ship, UFO, I'll call it. It was
Yeah.
on a UFO going up, and it was going all kinds of different ways, and people couldn't keep track of all the shit that was going on.
Hmm.
And now people know what's going on. People that were living in those nice apartments are moving off of Ransom Street because it's a shithole. If it wasn't for Smith's, I heard they bought Daisy's because Daisy's was going to close up, and Smith's didn't want to have another empty building on the street, right? Because it just doesn't bode well for people to come down if it's a bunch of dead end buildings. So I'd like to know why they wouldn't take the offer and let him build. He's taking a huge gamble if he thinks he's going to get market rate apartments on Ransom Street right now, especially on that end of Ransom Street where there's been shootings and riots and, 18 police departments from across the capital region having to show up once a month because of all the fights and all the stuff, and the city doing absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah.
For a guy to take a gamble with $500,000, $250,000 to buy the property and then probably a couple million to build it, I don't know. I don't see what you'd be waiting for. I'd be like, sell it now while it's got a value.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll invite Pete Frangi or one of the.
See if we can't get him on. Look, I got 2 points. So Sean Van Sleet is saying, hey, he heard that the reservoir was leaking for years. Well, not in this corner. No. Not in this corner, Sean.
The reservoir leaked, but it wasn't the actual reservoir.
Right. They were actually draining excessive water out of a little building that would,
right. The building always flooded because it's
flooded. So they had a little pump and just pumped it out the street. But this is actually some kind of a breach that's going on that we're talking about. Sean, I want to throw an idea out. Okay, because Napier's failed 2 years because he doesn't understand Christmas. Okay, with his stupid concerts and everything. I think the fire department might think about getting somebody to be Santa Claus and going on the stage at Canal Square and have a Santa Day for all the kids and goes and have businesses and stuff try to get a toy drive that can be handed out to the kids.
They do that.
They haven't done it in Canal Square, though.
They don't do it in Canal Square, but they do it over in the park.
Yeah.
And I guess they do it in the park because that's where the Christmas tree is. I'm with you.
Really?
I would have like a week long. I would have had bands draw people to the downtown.
Even a certain weekend or a certain time.
I agree.
Weekend?
But the fire department, they work all year on the Cheer for Children.
Yeah, they do.
Jack. I don't know who started the Cheer for Children program, but Al Albin and Jack Dingley and all those guys. Jack Daniel, who's probably most known because he's just a wonderful man who.
Yeah, because they do collect toys at the VA.
But I started.
Legion.
I started the program called Santa Comes to Town, and that what we did was when I was the president of firefighters, and I was the one who did it. I dressed up as Santa, and on Christmas Eve, for I think 15 years, it was me and Jack Daniel. I was Santa. He drove the truck, and then other firefighters, Kelly Goyette at the time, Kelly Abbott now, and Ray Daniel, and there was other firefighters who would help us load the truck and sometimes go with us. But we would go to the school. We pick 5 families, and on Christmas Eve we deliver toys to these really needy families, and it was probably the best part of my career for 15 years being Santa.
Well, what I'm thinking about...
That's the only reason I stayed fat, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that an ideal place would be right at the stage, in Canal Square, and just pick one day, one time for Santa to make an appearance. Okay, well, they do. And they could do it in more than one place, but I just don't want to see another failed third years in a row of a Napier disaster.
Well, he's separate. Fat ass is separate. He's got to ruin it. Firemen do that. They have a day where they collect toys. They usually have like a hayride. They do that. The city doesn't do shit. The city should be saying, like when I was in, we would have all these I'd spend the money to have all these big events because big events draw people to your city.
Yeah.
And then it helps the businesses. And then it helps the not-for-profits. And then it helps people go, oh, what a great city to move to.
So our volunteers or people that take their time to do this for our kids, but we can't get the city to do anything for our kids. They put up shit shacks that they should have had, if anything, gingerbread houses. Okay. Last year's concert, you had 3-piece band playing with two people watching them. I
So
mean,
just remember this, because I don't want to not take and give the city some credit. I don't know who started it, but it's been a long tradition, right? To
yeah,
have the Christmas tree lighting,
yeah,
the hot chocolate, the radio station, and Kelman's. As much as I'm not a fan of the Kelmans, they were not a fan of mine. We were able to look past that, and they always been a really generous family towards the city's programs.
they haven't.
Yeah. And I never had a problem with them other than I didn't want to see the shit 18 foot above the wall,
Right.
down at the, I always said you should keep your, you have a wall that's X high.
You have a
And when
10-foot
people drive
wall
by,
with
they should only see
25 feet pile of metal.
right. And that's where we kind of had our conflict, and then all the fires they had. But overall, I mean, as people, they're good people.
Yeah.
And they've always been really good. So the city, in its credit, lights the trees, it spends the money to light up all of that park. And then Steve Napier, who is the head of the IDA, who's done absolutely nothing. Is that a word? Nothing?
See, he's the secretary in the CLDC, and he's the community development director for the city, who's done nothing. We're paying him almost $70,000 bucks a year to do nothing.
Yeah, they haven't really did their end of their bargain. Yeah, they don't have to. See, it isn't incumbent upon them to do anything. They don't have to.
No.
The bottom line is nobody's doing nothing. The city's not going in the best direction. The city's not as safe. It's not as clean. It's not as prosperous. And unfortunately, he's here for 3 more years. And all the money for the Christmas lights he put in for his raise. So the poor kids in Cohoes ain't having a Christmas because the Keeler family's going to have a great one because they made about $60,000 of raises between the daughter, the mayor, and his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So
I'll go up there and I'll stick a Trump sign on his lawn. So
maybe
when his family goes there for Thanksgiving,
maybe instead of
the Trump
maybe
sign,
Steve Napier should get a Grinch costume and have the mayor dress up in it and run around the city.
Yeah, that would work.
Because that's what the city's actually come to.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, listen, I apologize. We were 15 minutes late, and then Timmy's head was green for half the show, and he froze every time he talked. But hey, as he would say, there's nothing wrong with my end of the program.
That's because I'm using this technology to give me a green screen in the back. Okay. But you know what it is? It's that blue word light is screwing everything on up. It can't be green.
It can't be green. But hey, listen, God bless you all. Appreciate you watching the show. Please go on and what is it? Click, like, subscribe. Click, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel and help me keep this show up so that we can all laugh at Timmy's green head for the next couple of years.
Yep. Okie doke.
And until then, Timmy.
Adios.
See you later, brother. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yep.